Today on Podcast Them Down, we're finding out exactly how metal every single NFL team is. Podcast Them Down. Welcome to Podcast Them Down. I'm Tim Regan from U.S. power metal band Burning Shadows, Fade to Black Metallica tribute, Dual-Violin folk metal band ISENMOR, and recently vacated Graves True Zombie Metal. Be sure to subscribe, like, or follow. And now, on with the show. You know, I can't really listen to the intro anymore because of all the holes you've poked in it. We should do an episode. We should.
We should redo it. We should workshop it on the air.
Yes. Thank you for articulating that. That's what I was trying to say. Yes, we should do it on the air and see how it goes. And then
and we can incorporate like fan feedback that we'll hear a month later after we've changed it.
Right, when it's too late to act on it. That's a great idea. All right. What are we doing? Oh, so I'm here with Matt and Doug as usual, and we're actually not talking about Star Trek. Because every so often we got to not talk about Star Trek.
But don't worry, next time we'll be talking about Star Trek.
I think we will. I think you're right. So, the NFL season will be starting soon, so it's a perfect opportunity to go through all 32 teams. I believe there's 32 of them, and decide exactly how metal the team is. Based only on its name.
Yeah, let's define the criteria up front. It's just name, not logo, not colors, not history. We'll leave our Maryland-centric opinions out of it. It's just how metal is this team. And I was thinking we should just score it. We should do it like we do the Star Trek things. That way, we can directly rank all the teams in terms of metalness, right?
I like this.
And then we can also take these average scores and compare across leagues. So maybe we can, in the future, we can take the NFL and say, well, are they more metal than the NHL? So then you just take the average of your scores, and then you can compare. So anyway, so that's what I was thinking. Like, briefly, I thought about doing a bracket, but, it's so complicated with all the left and the right and the brackets. I don't know. I'll never be able to figure one of those out. So, all right. So, if everyone's okay with that, I think we should just forge on ahead. Okay,
and there's 4 columns in the spreadsheet. Are we missing someone?
Yeah. Well, is Dave not here?
Dave was supposed to be here. Is Dave here?
Shit, I completely forgot. All right, well, Dave's not coming. So how do you want to handle this 4th column in our spreadsheet here with Dave's score?
Well, I mean, Dave is the least metal person we know. So I think it's only appropriate that he gives every team a 1.
So is it like like an inverse assessment?
But that would bring the average down for the league.
Oh, that's
all
true.
Because of Dave.
Yeah.
What if we gave Dave? What if we summed our scores and then gave Dave the negative of that sum, so the average of everything would be 0?
That still affects the whole league. Maybe.
Okay. Huh.
Maybe we should just remove this column then.
Yeah.
This is real exciting. This isn't one of those watch the video things. No one can see the spreadsheet but us. So not even the stream is exciting. Well, then again, if we had a spreadsheet on the stream, I don't think it would be exciting either.
I feel like
there are control reasons for this. It's to protect the sanctity of the results and the process.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
We're not going to announce the score until the counting's done.
Right. Exactly.
Maybe we just maybe we just leave Dave's column in here. Because if it's just a 0, it won't affect everything. And then every time we look at it, we'll remember how Dave no called, no showed once again.
All right. Well, if you leave the 0 in, it goes into the average. So,
okay. So,
all right. So he'll get a big old blank to remind us that he was blank today.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
0. Worse than a 0.
Well,
at least a 0's. At least the 0's is something.
That also means all of our scores are worth more in the long run. So,
okay, that's true.
All right. So, this is the NFL for our European friends. It's known as American football. It's there's. I'm gonna edit this out because I lost track of what I was gonna say. Anyway,
so it is a simulation of war.
It is.
That Ivy Leaguers came up with in the 1880s because they lost out on all the honor, valor, and glory of the Civil War. So they wanted to recapture that by modifying the gridiron game to include tactics of Greek and Roman warfare, etc.
This is literally true. So let's say if the team names bear out this heritage of, because war is pretty metal. So,
yeah.
We're not condoning it, but it is metal. That's correct. Yeah.
The term gridiron sounds pretty metal to me.
Fuck. Shoot.
All right. So, for our European friends, the NFL is divided into conferences and then to divisions. So we're going to, we'll do this by division. All right. So let's start with the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills. I'm gonna jump right in and give the Bills a 1. Cause, what's a bill?
Yeah.
B, I don't think buffaloes are metal. They're made of meat.
Well, hold on. Buffalo
cool.
refers to the city.
Right,
and
but...
Right. Effing metal city. It's cold.
Fair.
It's miserable. It's full of rotting things.
Steel.
Are we considering the city in this?
It's in the name.
I think we just need to consider both elements of the name.
Oh, okay. That's fair. All right. So perhaps I should amend this.
And the people of Buffalo, wonderful people.
Yeah, I'm going to go up. I'm going to say the city of Buffalo has given them 5 points on top of my 1 for the name of the Bills. So it's going to be a 6 from me. That's 6.0. We might have to get precise here to avoid ties.
We're bound to get precise.
Do we open a rabbit? Does it behoove? We should understand the context of where Bills came from. So I'm going to Wikipedia.
All right, while you're doing that, how about Matt?
While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and give my score because actually you gave the correct score originally, which is a 1. Because I don't care if you're a metal place. Get a goddamn metal name, and there's nothing metal about Bill. Hey, have you met my buddy Bill? He's totally metal. He's not. He would be Metal William, Guillaume, but not Bill.
I'm trying to think of metal guys named Bill.
You can't think of any.
Yeah, well, I know at least one, and that is the half of Duskmorn who signed my Duskmorn CD. So,
okay, now, but those of you watching the video, can you hold that up again? Now, if you look at this Duskmorn CD, there's one metal signature and one not so metal signature, and I'll leave it to your imagination which one the metal is.
So, Walter is the other signature.
Metal name, lots of violent W's. Versus two breast-like sloping B bumps for Bill.
I'm going to go with the 6 here.
Bill's a nice guy, all right?
I'm sure
Bill's there's only one. Oh, crap. There's only one Bill. The team is called the Bills, and I can only name you one metal bill. So.
Right. See? I mean, I'm sure in isolation, individual bills might be great. But again, it's this collection of bills that troubles me.
All right, so Doug, what do you got on bills besides your 6?
Well, Buffalo Bill was a person.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't he a serial killer?
No. Well, he was because some boys in the Memphis PD said this one likes to skin his humps. That's from the movie. But before that, he did Wild West shows. Right. Buffalo Bill.
That's Buffalo
Cody.
Bill. Yeah. Okay. Hold on. All right. I guess how far down the rabbit hole do we go? Not every team is indirectly named after a very metal carny, essentially. So we're just going to let that be. But I'd argue Buffalo Bill was pretty metal.
I mean, Buffalo Bill himself, I mean, he did do all kinds of horrible things. Like he paraded around Sitting Bull for a while, which was crazy. And had all kinds of Imperial Plains glory for people back east. But still, why would your team name be the plural of a man? It's like being the Charlie Chaplins. It just doesn't work.
Well, we should move on. Otherwise, we're gonna have to make this multiple episodes. All right. So next
is 0 a score?
0 can be a score. If you're following along on the spreadsheet, the zeros in there are just placeholders. So, all right. So Miami Dolphins. I'm gonna go with a 1 because I hate Dolphins and Miami's too hot. And all the best metal in Florida is from Tampa, not Miami. So I'm going 1.
I mean, I agree that the best metal in Florida is probably not coming from Miami. So that Miami portion of the name does take away from the metalness. However, dolphins, killer whales are dolphins. Dolphins are mean. They beat up sharks. They're bullies. So I think that dolphinness actually props them up. I think they're the most metal of marine mammals. Certainly much more metal than manatees, for example.
I do want to bring up a metal connection to the Miami Dolphins where I might have to amend my score. And that's in Ace Ventura. That was the whole Laces Out Dan thing. Well, Cannibal Corpse was in that movie. So for Cannibal Corpse, whose singer is from Baltimore, I might add, I'll bump them up 2 points. I'll give them a 3. Apparently, I'm going to second guess all of my initial scores all night. So
we call the Doug Star Trek scoring method.
Right.
I'm also going to give them a 3. They're not the most metal. They're 3 times as metal as Buffalo, but not very metal.
I'm going to go with a 3. Yeah, I mean, it would be like a 0 if I was just factoring in the dolphin, frankly. I do accept the logic of the violent mammal, but they're still too cute. You can't get around that. Miami as itself is a dynamic and violent place, which is pretty metal.
I forgot about the violence. I was just thinking of like the neon.
I love Miami. It's amazing, like the things you see. And how Miami's not even a real place, but it's like it's a construct. Like,
is abstraction metal?
Well, yeah, but it literally is though. So there is downtown Miami, about 400,000 people, but everything people think of as Miami is more in Miami Beach. Meanwhile, there's Miami-Dade County, and the county itself actually has a mayor, as I have learned in the coverage, the horrible building collapse. Like what people think of as Miami is like 15 different places that are all lumped under the label Miami.
That's true. That's also very true.
All right, so you're sticking with 3 then. That was a question.
Yes, he is.
Okay, next, New England Patriots.
So I do the data entry. Just
if you want, I can do it.
I did it.
The New England Patriots. Can we consider the fact that they're cheaters?
We can. I mean, that's pretty metal.
And it's pretty metal to cheat. And, they have all those championships. But is that metal or not? That's a good question.
They are like a evil empire, and they just methodically identify the weaknesses of their foes and crush them.
Yeah,
that's a good point. And their fans are insufferable, just like metal fans.
Uh-huh.
So, I'm gonna have to score them higher than the Bills. So I'm gonna give them a 7.
And in the context of American history, it was New England Warhawks who thought it would be a good idea to invade Canada.
Yeah.
Wasn't a great plan. It did result in a lot of senseless death. That's fairly metal. And Canada's freedom in the war they won that somehow we also won. The British don't remember.
All right. Well, let's
I'm going with the 9.
9. Wow.
Patriotism. That's metal.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I'm just going to break this down. Patriotism, I agree with Doug. For both good and bad reasons, very metal. England, a very metal place. New, I'm not so crazy about new. I imagine the old England Patriots would be more metal. But from this kind of very deconstruction-y breakdown, I think they're a 7.78.
Nice. All right. New York Jets. All right. Well, right off the bat, the New York Jets are a bunch of fucking liars. They play in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Lying's pretty metal. But who gives a fuck about Jets? Not me. I think I should score them higher than the Dolphins, so I'll give them a 4.8.
Metal was all about being part of being metal is the persecution complex we feel because the whole world's against us. Jets fans know this well. They went through the indignity of being the guest tenants in the Giants stadium for like 40 years. So they would be the away team anytime they played the Giants in their own stadium. They're also named after Jets, and especially back when they end today, but especially back then, Jets are incredibly loud. Deafeningly loud.
That is a great point.
I'm going to go with the 6. Plus, the character of the people of East Rutherford, New Jersey is spectacular and very metal.
I have been to more metal shows in East Rutherford, New Jersey than I have in New York itself.
I like this examination of the city. I am won over by Doug's description of Jets. I do think maybe it's gotten slightly less metal. So for Doug's 6 and your 4.8, I'm going to just make it a solid 5 here.
Yeah, it's a good point, Matt. And with the new stadium, they're co-tenants. It's equal terms to them and the Giants. So they still lose a lot. They still have that persecution angle going for them.
And they I also feel like they wear like a lot of green, which for some reason is a very metal color.
Yeah.
Not in itself, but among football teams, there's not a lot of green, so that like daring to be different, I think is also pretty metal.
So you'll be up at like an 8 or 9 with the Seahawks, right?
Get ready.
Oh man, Sea and Hawks. Man, yeah. Okay, we'll wait.
All right, well, that's the AFC East. The AFC North, starting with Baltimore Ravens, hon. I gotta score it pretty high. Baltimore is the home of Maryland Death Fest. The Ravens are named for Edgar Allan Poe. Ravens themselves are metal. So it's gotta be a high score, and it's not just because they're from Baltimore. It's not because they're from Baltimore and I'm from Maryland. It is because they're from Baltimore, home of MDF. So, I'm going to go with an 8.888. 8. Okay. 8. A bunch of 8s. Not sure how many 8s yet, but a bunch of them.
Well, so what would it take to be more metal than coming from a town everyone hates? Having been named after the most metal bird of prey, might add.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We
good
stole
questions.
The team.
These are good questions.
After they stole our team.
Yeah, a double stolen team.
A record of victory that isn't acknowledged.
I forgot about the stolen teams. And the betrayal.
Yeah.
The betrayal, because them Baltimore Colts left in the middle of the night, hon.
Yep.
Ooh.
And then Modell brought him back, but not them.
I'm gonna bump it up to a 9.666.
Yeah, I have to leave the door open for that. There could be a more metal team, but I buy the logic in your scoring. I'm going to match that.
I'm actually going to have to bump it up because you forget that another reason they're named the Ravens is because of Baltimore's favorite non-son, but guy who died here, Edgar Allan Poe, who is like the gateway drug for every middle schooler to writing metal lyrics. So for that, they get a 9.77 from me.
Nice.
Yeah, and I just... Are we in... Can I be profane? I don't need to be, because we're in the right.
Please be profane. Go for it.
Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Richmond, you can all shove off. We got the body. It doesn't matter where he wrote his best stuff. We got the body. And that stupid John Cusack movie that's also not stupid.
All right. We might have to stretch going from the Ravens to the Cincinnati Bengals. That's a tiger, right?
I mean, they got that hair metal uniform.
The whole thing is pretty mild. And, Cincinnati is known for their chili, which isn't really chili. And it's just a bunch of weirdos in the Midwest, which could be metal. But in this case, I don't think it is. I'm giving them a 3.1.
Yeah, and Cincinnati's a nice place, which I think it kind of counts against it here. It's not a Cleveland or an Akron.
It's a nice place, despite the fact that it's butted up against Kentucky.
Man, it is better than Columbus, though. Yeah, you do have to fly into Kentucky to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky
This is hard because I think the AFC North is a strong contender for medalist division. But I think the Bengals themselves are not such a metal team. Like, at best, they're like a hair metal, and probably more likely they're like a pop punk / new metal kind of team. Yeah,
because a Bengal's kind of like a weak predator cat. And then they got the uniforms are pretty 1980s, like pop metal. Yeah. They get a 3 from me.
I'm gonna give them a pity 4, just because I feel like they deserve more than a 3. But I think most of that is just the unmetal feeling of pity.
All right. Next, Cleveland Browns. I feel like this has the same thing going on as the Buffalo Bills. As we know, Cleveland rocks. Cleveland's river famously caught fire. I mean, That's ridiculous. That's pretty metal. But Browns, I don't know what they're named for, but I think
it's trying to figure that out.
I think it's a pretty unexciting color, unless it's like trees. Trees are brown, and trees are folk metal, at least black metal.
I think it's just the predominant color of things in Cleveland, like the sky
and the river,
brown, the buildings.
the river when it's not burning. So, based mostly on the fact that the river caught fire, I'm going to give them a perfect even 5.0.
Well, I think we got to look at the history of the team too, because they were stolen.
They were,
and they stood up to adversity in the first way. The first time this had happened, where it was secured that the records of the team were left in the city, and then they were promised a franchise team, and I feel like they were passed over at least once. And Cleveland's a big city, and this was important to them, and they didn't have it, and they got through that. What did you give it, a 5?
Yep, 5. I'm sticking with it still.
Yeah, me too. They had a brown elf mascot at one point, which is based on Scottish folklore, not something worse, fortunately. That's kind of metal, but I don't think they use it now.
I mean, here's why you're wrong about the Browns. Number one, they refuse to have a logo on their helmet.
Yeah.
Number two, their color on their helmet is not the color brown, but orange. And so in a world of crass commercialization, they're so metal that they not only don't have a logo, even a picture of Paul Brown, who apparently is the coach they were named for. So they're not even named for anything in the city. But they don't even wear a helmet the color that their name is. So for that, I'm going to give them a 6.
All right. Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, steel is right there in the name.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you going to argue with that? I personally hate Pittsburgh, but it's pretty metal. It's in the mountains. It's very annoying to get around. Inconvenience is pretty metal.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing is bridges, which are made of metal. So, despite my hatred for the city, I can't argue that Pittsburgh is not metal, and Steelers are clearly metal. So I'm going to score them a 9.18. 9.18.
Pittsburgh, it pains me to say it, but it's a pretty metal place. It has the word Berg in it, like just that kind of Germanic root sounds pretty metal. It's named after William Pitt, a prime minister so great that his son was a better prime minister. Both named William Pitt, so I mean you can't go wrong. You're right. It's a 9.2.
I'm only going to go with an 8 here. What you guys say is correct. I actually like the city. I don't like that their logo is the logo, essentially a modified version of the U.S. Steel logo. Which was the Pittsburgh-based and the biggest company. That's pretty crass, though.
Doug, anyone can put fries on a sandwich. It's not special.
But yeah. Doug, that is a good point. That's like a very shilly thing to do. And even though it's a pretty metal company, I mean, anyone would want to see a band called U.S. Steel. But at the end, it's just crash commercialism, and I think that's a fair deduction.
All right,
I gotta dig on Pittsburgh a bit because they think they're better than us down here. And
no, they're just as it sucks just as much there as it does here. They're not better. They're just as bad.
We got better, like the fundamentals are stronger here. They may have Google now. We'll see what it looks like in 10 years.
All right, moving right down the 81 and probably some other interstates to the AFC South, the Houston Texans. Houston was, I don't know if they still are, but Houston was the most overweight city in America, which is that's an impressive feat. It's way too hot there. They're constantly devastated by nature. That's pretty metal. But Texans are insufferable, just like Patriots fans. Oh, well, I want to hate on this. Yeah, I want to hate on this, but all those things, should be raising the score. So I'm gonna go with the 6.3.
Texas is the most metal state. The way they think they're different and better than every other state, and that they're persecuted, and that they want a war against another country themselves. Apparently,
they take pride in the fact that they all died at the Alamo.
Yeah, that kind of hope. Yeah.
Well, wasn't that great when everyone died? Wasn't that great when we ignored all common sense and direct orders to defend the Alamo? That was great.
That great when we escaped federal regulation by keeping all power generation in state?
Yeah.
I think Alaska's a more metal state. There's not a lot of women up there. There's lots of blue-collar work. There are wolves and bears and glaciers.
And earthquakes.
Everything's more expensive.
But it's socialized.
Yeah.
Texas, you gotta, you're a cattleman or better strike on some oil.
Or you can get out.
Toil. But you ain't getting anything from the state. That's how it is. And should be. So I gotta go with an 8 here.
Wow. Okay, so a couple of things here. The Tennessee Titans used to be the Houston Oilers. Houston Oilers, very metal name. Houston Texans, not so much. I agree with all the metalness of Texas to a degree, but this is not a very metal name. And their logo is a cow. I know we're not supposed to be thinking about logos, but I guess a cow is an emblem of Texas, but not a Texan.
Is it a cow or is it a cow skull? I know it's like red and blue, but
yeah, I guess it could be a cow's skull. We know for sure it's a cow's head. Yes. And either way, I think it could have been a big floppy hat, which was much more emblematic of Texas, and every fan could have worn them. So that's marketing minute. And that's a 5 for me.
Yeah, and I'm
Houston Texans. You can pay us for. You can go ahead and pay us for the free advice, Houston Texans.
Yeah.
I'm downgrading to a 6. I agree with everything I said about Texans. Houston, I like Houston. Galveston's more metal from a environmental catastrophe perspective, and would have been the bigger city had it not been decimated.
Except for the hurricanes.
Yeah. Houston's a nice place, but it's kind of like Charlotte if it were in Texas. Charlotte ain't that metal. So, I'm going to a 6. I think we'll see some of the more violent places of Texas come out in other themes.
Yeah.
All right. Next is the Indianapolis Colts. That's how we used to say it here in Baltimore. We'd call them the Baltimore Coats.
Baltimore Coats.
All right, so Indianapolis.
They get a 1 from me.
Well, you know, the only thing worse than the city is the state. And, you know, this is where Dave would jump in and defend Indiana. But you know what? He's not here. So
there's no Dave here.
Let's bomb the shit out of this score. And horses, pretty metal. But
you know, it's not metal, a baby horse.
Right.
Here's the problem. The uniforms, the horseshoe, it's all iconic. It's just in the wrong place.
Yeah.
I can't ever get over that.
So I'm going to
Pimlico ponies.
I'm going to give it a 6.66 and then divide it by 6, leaving it at a 1.11.
I mean, I don't know if we can give non-1, but I'm going to give it a 0.00.
Oh, it didn't.
It didn't take the point.
It didn't take the point. Well, no, let me fix that for you. Oh, that's the wrong. The wrong box. Wrong box. Okay, I've fixed it.
Thank you.
Our score is specifically a 0.00 for that for Matt. All right.
Also, just an aside for those of us who know Greek, all Indianapolis means is Indiana City. And if you're going to name your capital city Indiana City, just have the balls to call it Indiana City.
Yeah, and that what's the Indy 500? That ain't no Preakness. I'm sorry. Dressing up in black and white and then watching a bunch of cars go fast. That's even worse than horses. And I can't even defend Preakness, except that it's better than
the Belmont Stakes.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to remind everyone, you know, who I'm sure is ready to accuse us of just, you know, being down on them coats because of being bitter because we're from Maryland. I want to remind you that we gave the second highest score so far to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we are capable of, looking at this objectively. So while we're looking at this objectively, yeah.
And also, I would like to invite anyone in Metal Nation, if you can write us by whatever the social media platform you prefer and give us a reason why the Indianapolis Colts aren't at most 1.11 metal, we'll buy you a Coke.
All right, moving right along. Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the alliteration is dumb. I think Jacksonville, the city, is dumb. I think the state of Florida is dumb. Jaguars are pretty cool, so that's going to bump it all the way up to a 2 from me.
I actually... Go ahead, Doug.
I was going to say... Jacksonville.
How long are you going to do this?
I was going to get going for 5 minutes.
I'm just going to take control.
That's pretty metal. Doug gets a point. A metal point.
Jacksonville's they do urban planning kind of right, which is almost a negative in the metal context. And then you got like nice Jacksonville, then you got indigenous Jacksonville, which is more metal. And then the colors suck. I guess Jaguars are metal, but so were Bengals. I can't go higher than the Bengals because they have the uniform at least.
So that's a 3.
Yeah, that's a 3. I mean, there are more metal teams in Florida. I feel like I have to give them a 3.5 just because through sheer geography, Jacksonville must be more metal than Miami. And I don't want to give them the same score I gave Miami.
It is farther north than,
yeah,
going north
colder.
Makes things more metal until
a certain
point.
Tropical breezes and coconut drinks don't make you metal.
And the whole city, I forget how they did the county-city split. I think it's an integrated municipality, but it's like 20. It's like it's like welcome to Jacksonville, downtown, 15 miles.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Tennessee Titans. All right, so I'm going to once again bring up the alliteration. Tennessee, I'd say it's more metal than Florida. Or, I mean, sorry, more metal than northern Florida. So, not as metal as Tampa, obviously.
No.
So, Titans, I mean, that's pretty fucking metal. So I'm going to have to score them higher than Jacksonville, but not that much higher. So I'm going to go with 2.9. And all the heavy lifting is by the name being the Titans.
I mean, Tennessee, I think Nashville, I think the Grand Ole Opry, not really a metal place. I agree. Titans, like they're angry gods, right? They're fighting for control of Olympus. That's pretty metal. They have a big T in case you forget what the letter Titans starts with. So I mean, reading is metal.
It was like the Tesla logo.
And they also used to be the Houston Oilers, and I've already established that oil itself is metal. So, you need a lot of metal to get out of the ground. And for a while, for an awkward season, they were the Tennessee Oilers, which made no sense, but it was great. So for these reasons, I have to give them my prize of this division. They're going to get a 5.00001. Just edging out the Houston Texans.
Man, you really see their whole aesthetic is just offensive to me. And then
that's pretty metal.
Yeah, that's true. The transgression. Oh, dang, that's a good angle.
Well, I am going to raise my score to 3.9 because of those points.
Yeah, because they got this great name. Then they have the Tesla logo and a bunch of pastel blues. And then it looks like a high schooler did their logo. But it's got like, it's serif. Yeah, man, it's affronting in an ugly way. Like, yeah, they're a solid 5.
All right.
And where do they even play? Are they in Nashville? Or Memphis?
I think they're in Nashville, I think.
Yeah.
Someone's yelling at their
are in Nashville. They are in
podcast box.
Nissan Stadium.
Nissans aren't metal.
No,
they treat workers but
all right. AFC West.
AFC West.
West. First one up, the Denver Broncos. So, I guess horses again are metal, just like they're more metal than the Colts, at least.
Colts, yeah.
And Denver, Mile High City, in the mountains, home of Jag Panzer. These are all good things. Didn't they fail a lot?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. They
over and over, just like the Bills. Okay, so
they won Super Bowls though. Sorry, Bills.
They did win Super Bowls. Did win Super Bowl. I can English sometimes. I'm gonna give them a 5.5. Not bad, but they got room for improvement.
Yeah, I don't like Denver. It's too nice. And then you've got the Air Force there and all those Christians there.
Yeah.
I guess the Air Force is kind of metal. I mean, the city's too nice, except you can't breathe. So it's kind of like you're high. I guess, yeah, and all the drug tourism. I guess that's metal. Broncos are metal. All right, my own biases aside, I'm going to have to go with a Go with a 6 with the Texans. They 5.5.
Yeah, I'm just gonna agree for reasons we said. Not very metal, but metalish.
All right, Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are pretty metal. Kansas City, you're awfully popular at the moment, Matt.
I know. Sorry.
Yeah.
Turn off my...
Yeah. Kansas City. Is that in Kansas or Missouri? No one knows. So the ambiguity, that's pretty metal. Because you can always go, no, the other one, and make someone feel like an idiot. So that's pretty metal. I'm gonna give them the same score as the Broncos.
Inside information, yeah. It's like, yeah, no, you idiot.
Right.
That's on the other side of that's in Missouri. And I don't know where they play.
I have to agree. They're about as metal as the Broncos.
Yeah, and they need to look at changing their name. Their name is pretty metal. That's just a fact, whether we like it or not.
All right, so these next two show you how out of the loop I've been, because somehow I missed that both of the next two teams relocated. So next is the Raiders of Las Vegas, which I thought was weird. So, Las Vegas Raiders, Sin City, massive drug problems. The Raiders are essentially pirates, are they not?
Oh, they're football pirates.
They're football.
And the team in Oakland and especially in Los Angeles has a very unique history and reputation of violence.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and the color scheme, assuming they haven't changed it, black and silver. That's the whole thing's pretty metal. I'm gonna have to put it up there alongside the Steelers and the Ravens. So let me just peek at what my score was for that. So I'm gonna put it right between them at 9.4. 9.4 for the Las Vegas Raiders.
I'm going to have to go in the opposite direction. So far, the Ravens are my metalist team, but honestly, there's a metal part of me that's still a little nervous about all that purple. So I'm going to have to give them a 9.888 for keeping it the colors of metal objects, black and silver.
Man.
And also the history of violence. This is I'm kind of ignoring the whole Las Vegas aspect. This is just more the franchise in general.
But see, that's where I'm getting hung up on, because if they were in Oakland or especially Los Angeles, if they were still in the Coliseum, it's a 10.
Yes, but think of all the people they disappointed. Disappointing people's pretty metal.
Yeah, but they weren't unique in that, though. There were three teams involved.
But they were so disappointing. I think of all the teams that moved, this was the most disappointing.
Yeah, for Oakland. Yeah, because that's the thing they had. Okay. But they're in the Vegas is an unknown.
Yeah.
Because there are metal parts of Vegas and there's really unmetal things about Vegas.
There are. That's fair.
And the moral hazards, that's pretty metal. I don't with 8.5.
I agree with that. I don't want to show my hand for another round of metal team names, but I do think Las Vegas sports teams can tend to be metal.
All right. The Los Angeles Chargers. I don't know why I had a hard time saying that one. The Chargers. I mean, lightning is metal, but I feel like an electricity metal as well. But I feel like Chargers somehow made it lame. So Los Angeles, lots of crappy bands out of there, and plenty of good ones, but like when I think Los Angeles, I think of the shitty bands. When I think of San Francisco, I think of the good bands. So, out of California in the 80s. So, I'm gonna give them points for Los Angeles, but take away some for making electricity and lightning lame. So I'm gonna go with a 5.4.
Man, yeah, that logo sucks.
Yeah.
I feel like didn't they look better when they played in St. Louis?
No, you're thinking of the Rams.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So
similar colors, though, right?
Wait, did they not go to Los Angeles also?
Yeah, they are also.
They did.
They're just in a different division. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, LA somehow got 2 teams.
Yeah,
They're having none for a while.
Yeah, they had the second biggest media market, no teams, 25 years, then everyone wants to go there.
Yep.
Wait, where'd they come from?
San Diego.
Chargers, San Diego. Which means
like
a whale's vagina.
Yeah, it's not the same as disappointing the people of St. Louis.
Now, technically, in 1959, they were the Los Angeles Chargers, but then they moved to San Diego. So you could actually argue that this is just the restoration of a 60-year mistake.
Man,
that's barely a move, though.
Restoring legacies. That's pretty metal.
Legacies are metal.
Yeah. They get a charitable 5. Because they all play at one place in Los Angeles, right? And they should. I should take off 3 points for not playing in the Coliseum, the greatest, most impractical arena still in use in this country. I'll give the Los Angeles points to the Rams. But I mean, man, Los Angeles, you got those, like, I love San Pedro. You got like these public beaches and they're pumping oil on an island next to it. And you got Long Beach, which is blighted and awesome and also full of nice people and dreary beaches. And then you got the bougie parts. It's a fun, and it's dirty, smoggy. But I'm going to give those points to the Rams.
Yeah,
because they'll need it.
Yeah. So
you're up.
Yeah, I'm up. I was just reading about the name. First of all, for what it's worth, Doug, in the 1960 season, before they moved to San Diego, they did play in the Coliseum. But I also learned that their name has nothing to do with electricity.
That's even worse.
The guy who named them said, I always go to sports teams and hear people yell charge, so they're the Chargers. And then that was such an awful name that they somehow they just then tried to retcon it with this electricity backstory
I'm going to retcon my score to a 2 also.
Yeah, I'm going to knock off a few as well. Probably not so many. How about a 3.1?
Well, they put a Star Trek Discovery Season 3 in their name.
All right, well.
Coming in 2052. Mm-hmm. Doug and Matt reviews Star Trek Discovery Season 3.
All right, that wraps it up for the AFC, and we will do the NFC on the next episode. Thanks for listening to Podcast Them Down. You can find Burning Shadows, ISENMOR, and Recently Vacated Graves on Bandcamp, as well as Facebook, along with Fade to Black Metallica Tribute and Podcast Them Down itself. Until next time, keep it metal.